evident in like Kyra. Thanks, Laurel. Okay, so talking about the 4 stages of competency, it was something that I had never heard about before, but when he started talking about it, it was like light bulbs went off in my head. Like it just made complete sense to me. And I'm excited to hear from Kyra of kind of about her journey, because I feel like she has just come in and blown it out of the water. And when she hops on, I will give her a little intro. She's probably having baby goats right now, which, by the way, we came home. Oh, there she is. Okay. We came home to a new baby goat. So that was a surprise. But okay, so Kyra came in, and so start date was April 1st. We actually just looked this up right before she got on, and literally has just blown it out of the water. There hasn't been a single thing on the table that she did not put her name on or her husband's name on. And I feel like it really spoke to, and this isn't going to sound bad. I don't think Kyra is going to take offense to it, but like the first stage of the 4 stages of competency is unconscious competency, which is basically ignorance on fire. Like Kyra came in, and she will tell you, like, she's never had experience in this business, in this industry, and she came in and she just ran with it. And what she ran with was her excitement. She fell in love with the products. I think you were using them for maybe a week or 2. And then she popped over to promoter, and she just ran with it. Like, I think she told me, she was like, everybody needs to have these crack vitamins. And when she was sharing, when she was talking to people, that was what was coming across, was her energy. And that's what people were getting attracted to. So I know, like, when people come in and we want to start our business, we're just getting out and we're super nervous. We feel like we need to know it all. And we do not. That is farthest from the truth. The most important things in the beginning of your business is connecting with people, is letting people get to know you, get to know your personality. And then, of course, just sharing, running with the energy, running with the excitement that you have about these products that you yourself just fell in love with. Or maybe you've been using for a long time and you have a story that you can already share with how it's changed your life so far. Like, that is the fuel. That is the energy that you want to use. So you basically come in and you don't know what you're doing. And that's the beauty of it, because you can just run with your heart and run with your energy and your excitement. And then you kind of go into the second stage, which is conscious incompetence. This is where you know what you don't know, and you're just starting to like kind of dip your toes in. You're starting to get involved in the trainings. This is where you're going to make a lot of mistakes. You're just going to kind of start throwing things at the wall and see what sticks. There's no wrong way to do it. You basically just have to find what makes for you, what works for you. And in this stage, you might lose a lot of confidence, because throughout these 4 stages, it's like a roller coaster. You're going up and down. You came in with that ignorance on fire. You were super excited. Everybody was like excited with you and hopping on and doing all the things. And then you kind of hit a plateau. And that is very common, because you have already kind of worked into your warm market, your close family and friends, all that kind of stuff. And you hit this plateau, and you're starting to see all these things that, like, you're watching your other people, you're watching your upline, your side sisters, and you're like, oh, maybe I should be doing that. Or they're doing it this way. Maybe I should be doing that. Like, you're starting to kind of get an inkling of things that you don't quite know yet. And you can kind of get in your head and talk yourself out of showing up. But that could not be more detrimental to your business. This is the stage where you literally just want to try anything and everything and figure out what works for you, because what works for Kyra may not work for me, or what works for me may not work for Bobby. Like, we are all different. We all speak to different people. Got to remember, we are not trying to sell to everybody. We are trying to sell to our people. We're trying to sell to people that are like us. You're not here to connect to everybody. If you are trying to connect to everybody, you are going to lose everybody in the process, because they're going to be able to recognize that, essentially. And then after that, you're going to go on to the conscious competence stage. This is where you're learning. You're starting to actually get a grasp for systems that are happening, figuring out the things that are working for you, leaning into the different learning or the different trainings and that kind of things. And it's starting to be kind of, you're starting to get your footing. You're figuring out the things that are working for you. And you don't really have to, you do still have to think about it. The effort is still there. It is not ingrained into your system. You still have to maybe have those checklists that you're doing to keep yourself on track, to keep you showing up, to keep that momentum going, because it's not ingrained. You realize the things that you need to do to move your business forward. You've started to grasp the knowledge of the products, the benefits of the promoter side of things. You're starting to really understand it and being able to share from that, but it still takes an effort to keep yourself on track and to keep you showing up, because it's not ingrained in your system yet. And then the last stage is the unconscious competence. This is what we call the mastery stage. This is when you've got your systems in place. You've figured out what's working for you, your onboarding system, how you're sharing your products, how you're keeping your retention of your customers. This is where the sweet spot is, but it's a lot of ups and downs to get there. And even when you get to this spot, there's still going to be ups and downs in our particular industry. Like, it's never, I reach this spot and I'm golden. Like, I can just take my foot off the gas. That's not really what is in this industry. If I want to, yes, you can get to a point, you can be content and complacent, but if you want to continue on that growth scale, you really don't ever want to take your foot off the gas. You will get to a point in your business where you can kind of ease up a little bit and your business won't fall to pieces, because you built those systems. You have that duplicity in place. But that's when we get to the mastery stage. This is when your IPAs have become a habit, which your IPAs are income producing activities. These are the things that you should be doing every single day: posting, connecting, following up. Those are the things that are going to move your business forward. And those are the things that eventually it just becomes second habit. You do not have to necessarily do those checklists because you realize that, oh, I just got that done and I wasn't even really doing it. It's just second nature. You don't have to think about it. It basically just becomes muscle memory, and you have that duplicity system in place. So not only now have you, locked your business in, you've figured out everything for yourself, but you now have created the system that you are duplicating to your team. And this is where I was talking about, where you have that flexibility with taking your foot off the pedal, is because you've created those systems. And not only have you created it for yourself, but you've created for your girls that are, growing and building underneath you. And you're teaching them how to do the same. One thing that I want to take away from this, and I'm going to introduce Kyra, let her kind of take things over. We're just going to kind of talk a little bit, ask her a couple questions about her business. Like I said, she's been here 6 weeks now, I think. But one thing that I want to take away from this is our business is an evolution. You're not going to come in, you're not going to know everything from the get-go. When you come in, you just kind of fall forward. You just run with that energy and you keep going, and your business is going to evolve with you because you are growing in this process, and it's from your growth that your business is going to grow. But with that being said, I'm going to pass it over to Kyra if you want to unmute yourself and just kind of introduce yourself.
Hey guys, I'm Kyra. I have 5 kids and a man-child, and I run a ranch. I raise pigs and goats, and I board horses, and chickens and dogs. And yes, I've been thriving for like 6.5 weeks. So, well, I guess about 7 weeks, right? So I finally got my package, and I was like, well, I know that I'm going to promote it one day, right? Because I love this stuff. This is what's going to happen, but not today because, I'm trying to be better at the ranch, and I'm trying to be better at this, that, and the other thing. And yes, ma'am. And then I remember I got a call from my lawyer, and she needed some questions, or she had a question for me. And I was like, dude, I'm on these vitamins and like, I can do all these things. And she was like, will you hook me up with that? And so that was my first sell. I was like, actually, I will join you today and help me like figure this out. And so we placed her order, and that's how I got started with it. What's next? Can I look at our notes from earlier?
Yes.
Okay.
So thank you, babe. So Kyra and I actually met. She sold me Maple, which is our baby pig that we got for Zach for his birthday. And she was one of those where I knew she was watching my story. I am new to like the homesteading communities and stuff like that. And here she was. She's like got this whole big farm. And so I was nervous to talk to her. Like I'd never brought up Thrive. I didn't even really initiate anything on that sort of thing. We basically just talked about the sale of our pig. And then she drove up Maple all the way from not Roswell.
It's a 3-hour drive.
Yeah. So she drove her all the way up, and basically on her way, she's like, "Hey, what are these vitamin things that you've been sharing?" And I'm like, "I'll send some samples with my husband," because Zach was actually picking up. So I was like, "Does your husband want to try?" And so basically I sent a sample pack for her and her husband, and Zach just dropped them off. And that was kind of that. But as far as what your life was like before Thrive, because I know you mentioned you've got all the babies, got all the animals. Talk about, why you messaged me and asked for them.
Well, so yes, the week before I delivered Miss Maple, I go outside and do things here and there, and I was going out to just bud some goats or whatever, and people were just like, "Oh my gosh, Kyra, are you okay? You look so tired. Oh, you poor thing, you poor thing." And I was like, I have 5 kids and like a couple hundred animals. I'm just tired, okay? And it was I call it justifiably tired. It was okay that I was like exhausted all the time because I have these excuses. And that's also part of why I've done so well, is because people are like, "You're not tired anymore, like you're running in circles." So that the change in me has helped a lot too. But then, so yeah, we're on our way up there, and I slept like at least 80% of the drive. And I was like, "Hey, I'm gonna try these vitamins that she's always talking about." And you don't know how much I stalked you, right? Like I was like, "Oh, she likes this show." And every time I watched that show, I was like thinking about her. And I wasn't intentional. It just made me think about her. So all the things that she posted paid off, right? Because I was thinking about her all the time. And then I definitely wanted to know what these vitamins were. And the term crack vitamins came from one of the people that boards horses out here. She came in and she was like, "Hey, how are you?" I was like, "Dude, I'm great. I can do everything." And she was like, "Are you sure? Because you kind of look like you're on crack." I was like, "Yeah, it's these crack vitamins, dude. Check it out." And she has still not checked them out, but that's whatever. They really worked for me, and if she wants to be like miserable, that's up to her. So everyone said I was really tired, and then I got the sample, and then the week later I was like, yeah. Basically, once the very first person I talked to about it was like, "Yeah, I want that. Whatever you're doing that makes you talk to me like this, I want some of that." And so I was like, "Hey, actually, I will just sign up and sell them." And then and so that's where I was at.
And so I think that was one of the things that I noticed the most from when I was talking to Kyra after she switched over to promoter. And because believe me, from the day she signed up, I was trying to get her to pop the promoter button. Like from the day she signed up, because I knew she would be incredible. She's already got like the word of mouth side of things. Because that is one, and we'll talk about, I don't want to get ahead of us, but so the one thing I noticed the most from Kyra as she was sharing her journey is like when I would talk to her, she was like, because a lot of the girls were like, because she's dropping booms left and right. And I said, "What are you doing? Like, what are you doing to sign these people up?" And she's like, "I'm just telling everybody they need my crack vitamins." Like she was solely just running with the energy. She was running with the love of the products that she had. And that was it. I mean, she was constantly like, "I'm a hot mess." Guys, she left a sale till like literally she placed at 11:59:59. Like I was getting gray hairs because she's like, "I'm a hot mess express over here." Like she was just running with the excitement. And that was all she knew. But then
like shaking and sweating, and like my heart was a mess, but I made it, right? I was
like, "You're giving me more grays than my children are." Okay, so we talked a little bit about the shift of why you decided to switch from customer to promoter. Like, what made you pull the button?
Well, so like say as soon as so let's rewind just a little bit. So after I delivered the piglet and I did my sample. So first I was waiting. So Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday are always my good days, right? I always kick butt on those days. And then Thursday and Friday are my really drag days. And Saturday and Sunday. And anyways, but so I tried it and remember Maple needed to go to the vet. And so I was like on top of the world doing these vitamins and she had the pig at the vet. So I couldn't be like, oh my gosh, I feel so good about everything. You're like, these vitamins are legit, because she's like sad and her piglet might not make it. So then she hit me up and she was like, hey, the pig's okay. I was like, that's great. I'm doing so good. Like, these vitamins are great and I'm freaking superwoman. And I knew then that I would eventually sign up to sell them. I just didn't realize that I was going to start sharing them like instantly, really strong with everybody and anybody, right? And so I was driving to Las Cruces for an FFA thing, and that's whenever I was talking to my lawyer, and she was like, yeah, I want that. Actually sign me and my boyfriend up for it. I was like, really? Like, that was really easy. Hey, Cathy, help me, like, change my mind, switch that thing over. And so that was where that came from.
Okay.
Okay.
Oh, okay. So since kind of going from like, I remember talking in the beginning, you basically had like, because again, I'm like, girl, you got to switch out. Like, you will crush it at this promoter thing. And she's like, nah, let me see if I can get some people interested and, build a little list. Cause she knew about the VIPs. I mean, she was game if she could lock in her VIPs. She just wanted to build a list. And then she had her one customer interested, and basically, like, once she got that first customer, she still had the hesitant. She was like, if I can just get my products covered, that'll be great. So when did like your mindset and your goals kind of shift? I know you said they didn't really shift, but you can talk about that.
All right, let's see. Whenever I hit the first bonus and like I actually got a check, I was like, wait, that like came through? Like, I wait, is it real money? Did it go into the actual bank, or is just this email that I got, right? So that's when I was like, actually, I'm fixing to find everybody that needs this stuff, and we're gonna hit all these goals. I didn't hit one though. I didn't hit 4K on the 2.0 account, but I did hit everything else. And those Maui gems was my third pair, so I'm pretty stoked about them. It's and it's real, right? So I've done like little things on the side, but not anything that actually paid me like a decent, like $200 for that first bonus. I was like, huh. So, and if I get the next one, it's another $200. And then the next one's 400. Like, yes, I will do that. So that's whenever I started pushing myself and really thinking that like things were possible. Right. Okay.
Just kind of seeing the potential of, these bonuses that are on the table and what they can actually do. I think that was
the fact that they were real, because I was like, or that I could hit any of them.
Yeah.
Because I was kind of earlier you said something about confidence, and mine has only grown, right? I used to like remember all the pictures that you were like sending pictures. I was like, this one's a year and a half ago, and this one's my daughter's coronation, like, like nothing of just me. And now I'm like, yeah, look at how pretty I'm getting. Like, I'm badass again. Sorry, but
that's okay.
I didn't feel like it was scammy, no, but I definitely didn't realize how simple it would be to hit the goals. Like, just one promoter and one customer, that's all I needed.
So what do you think was the biggest thing in terms of being able to get that one promoter and one customer? Like, what was it just like pushing out of your comfort zone, mentioning it to everybody you talk? Because a lot of your stuff was in person. You had, and that we'll get to that next one, because the biggest thing is your obstacle that you've overcome in the process of overcoming.
Very little overcome, right? I would say like I've overcome like 10 or 15% of it. Those of you guys that have seen my stories, you see that I posted that same one twice today, and I like had to go through and switch it because I didn't know that it went through, and like I don't know what I'm doing. But anyways, so well, So whenever before I joined, I started making like a mental list, right, of who I would talk to and stuff. And then I just naturally did talk about it to somebody, and they were like, yeah, I would totally be interested in that. And then I was like, okay, my list is everyone, like everyone that I come in contact with, everyone that's like, hey, can you help me with this? I'm like, yeah, and I can help you with your life. Like, I got you. Um, yeah.
I will never remember because Kyra does crocheting as well. And she does little events like pop-up events where she has a like little tent in her table, and she sends me a picture and she's like, hey, I'm at one of my crocheting events, as you're talking about something or whatever, and she's like, and I'm just casually slinging, you know, Thrive vitamins while I'm at it, and she sends me a picture and it's legit like a Thrive box sitting on the table. I'm like, there is nothing casual about that. I think it takes up more table than you're crocheting. But I think that's one of the things I noticed about Kyra is like I don't want to say didn't give two F's, but basically she was just open about sharing. And I think that's a hard one for us to do, because a lot of us have that issue with the confidence of being able to talk about it. And that's an obstacle for a lot of us, is being able to start those conversations and get that going. And I think we say it all the time, biggest thing is just kind of rip the Band-Aid off. Just being able to throw yourself out there. Don't lead with the sale. You are not leading with the sale. You are leading with your love for the products. You are leading with what the products have done for you. And that is what's going to pay off. Use your energy, use your excitement, and just share. And I know that's the hard part, but even if you're just sharing on your stories, like that's going to open up doors like this. Like, I mean, Kyra and I had been going back and forth for probably 2 months. No, way longer than that.
Like 8 months. It was a
there was a huge
to
break
pick the piglet. Yeah.
because we were supposed to get one pigment at the beginning, and then there was a huge like 4-month break probably. Then we started talking again, and again it was never about the Thrive products, but in me having that conversation outside of Thrive, she started watching my stories, and she started like following along, and then she was the one that eventually reached out to me, because again, that was an obstacle I had. I was scared to breach the conversation with her, because I had also, like, I knew just in our conversation that she was tired, that she had a bunch of kids, that, you know, the farm, like that, I know that how much that takes out on you. But that was,
she should have told me.
It was an insecurity on my part at that point in my business. Like, I was not comfortable breaching that conversation, but if I had done that, maybe I'd have Kyra on board 7 months ago.
Well, maybe, but also the way it worked out, right? Like, you ended up being such a good person. So we did lose the first piglet that you had picked. And she wasn't like, well, what's wrong with your placement? She was not snooty about anything. She was just like, okay, cool. You know, let me know next time you have some small babies. And because, you know, the piglets range in size, and they were looking for a tiny one, and every now and then a really tiny. Maple was super tiny too. Anyways, so yeah, she was a sweet baby. And but you were super chill, right? So I was drawn to like just your personality and who you were anyways. So that's why I was really watching how everything was going down. And but so if you would have sent me a 3-day sample, I would have definitely been a customer at least. And either way, I definitely like, the product was something I needed, but I never would have asked for it until it was just all worked out, right? God's plan.
Yeah.
He was like, oh, look at how tired you are. Oh, deliver this piglet to this woman who's never tired. She does her dishes at 9 p.m. Like with a smile on her face. And I was like, oh, dishes at 9 p.m. and like not mad at the kids. Oh, wow. And then so as far as talking to everybody about it, what's the worst thing that's going to happen? They're going to be like, no, I don't want to feel better about my life. Like, I'm good. Okay, got you. Then don't feel better about your life. Like, my very best friend hasn't tried it, right? And I talk to her every day, and she was supposed to go to your house in Albuquerque, remember, and pick up samples. And she was like, I'm too tired to go get them. I was like, do you hear me? Like, and she was like, yeah, I hear the difference in you. So her mom bought them. Her mom tried them, and she lost some weight. And then she was like, I don't know, Mia, you can have the rest, whatever. But my very best friend was like, yeah, no, I don't know. And she still hasn't ordered them, and that's fine. But every time she complains about being tired, I'm like, she already know what I gotta say.
I think that's good to hit on, because it seems like, yes, you would have come on, you would have tried the products, like you would have allowed that side of things, but you wouldn't have necessarily been open to the door of the other side of things, because that relationship wasn't built yet. And that relationship was built because you were continuing to watch over an extended period of time, and all of that kind of stuff. So I think that's actually really good to hear.
Now that I know like everything about you, I want to be a part of that.
Okay, literally, guys, because you were at the retreat for when we went to, where did we go? Washington. And I don't know, this is probably 2 weeks ago. She was like, yeah, when I saw that you watched Outer Banks, I'm like, I have watched that. Like, I watched the whole thing when we were there because we binge watched it, but I shared that once. And she remembered it. And that was the show she was talking about. Like when she sees it, it instantly like makes that connection. And so I just thought that was really funny.
Well, and it takes me like, 4 to 5 weeks to finish a season of anything. Cause I literally just do stuff all the time. Even though I crochet whenever I watch TV, it's not very often. And so it's, every day for my 30 minutes that I'm watching television, I'm like, oh, Cathy likes this show. Okay. She's so cool. She watches this show. She knows all about John B. Like, okay.
Oh my God. Okay. So that when she told me that just showed me like, because literally I would have thought there was no content behind that post. I was sharing it because I was sharing the community side of things. I was sharing being at the retreat, but somehow something, weird like that being posted made a connection with her. And so I think that kind of gets to the point of, we so often feel like what we're sharing is so mundane. Like, honestly, a post about what I'm watching, to me, I'm like, who the F is going to care? But it made a connection. And so being able to make that connection, being able to share those little insights into your life, even though they feel so mundane to us, they make a difference for other people. And that is what's building the connections. Okay, so one last question for you. What is the biggest piece of advice you can give to someone who is just starting out or pushing for their first big goal?
We'll do that one, but we missed obstacles. Okay. So my advice is to keep, it's good. My advice is to keep talking to people, all of the people, right? Like, there's people who are just going to be like, meh, like whatever. At like my best friend of like 11 years, she's like, I don't want to hear about it. Okay. She's told me it's annoying. And I'm like, well, sorry. I'm just got so much energy. I'm just so annoying. And whatever, screw you. Don't call me until you can be nice. So, like, use your nice words. And then she calls me back and she's like, hey, I'm sorry. Like, you are doing really good things and I'm all proud of you. And I'm like, that's right. She's a good friend, like, obviously. But all that, so everybody that there is something that you could help them with. It's just whether or not they're ready to invest in themselves and they're ready to actually feel good. Some people like to not feel good. Like, they live in this like, they like being the justifiably tired. I didn't. Okay, I'm a doer. I like to be like, oh, I got this done. I did this and I'm good at that, and check out what I can do over here. And other people are like, oh no, I can't do any of that because I've got 5 kids. Like, there's no way. And so just talk to the people, and the people that are they like being where they're at, that's fine. But you might find a lot of people that are striving to thrive. They're wanting it. They're like, yeah, that is what I want. So yesterday, actually, as I was like blowing up everybody with the sale, this lady who I'd already talked to about it a little bit, and she's like, I'm interested. So I reached out to her again. She was like, I just feel like it's one of those things that sounds so good, but it's not really, And I was like, okay, well, so this is something else I do sometimes. I was like, well, if you buy it and like you don't love it, I'll buy it from you. I love it. I will use it. And she was like, no. I was like, okay. And then what I struggle with is social media. I'm awful at social media. I don't remember to do it. I have to force myself to. It takes me an hour and a half to make those little videos that are like 5 seconds long. Thanks, Bobby. I've been like, the effort is really there, really strong. I sit there and stare at that little app for a long time to put up those little videos. And then I put them up twice because I didn't know I did it right the first time.
I think that's good because that's showing, like, even though you have come in and literally you have blown it out of the water, like you really have been able to lock in a lot of things in your first month that not everybody does. But at the same time, there are a lot of, like, you are still in that unconscious competency stage. Like, you are still kind of just throwing things out there, trying to figure out what works for you. You're running with that excitement. but you have a lot of growth to do. And you're now at that stage where like, you're like seeing things that like other people are like, huh, like I need to work on that. I need to grow in that area. And that's just part of that growth scale or that evolution in your business is like, you came in, you were balls to the wall, you were running, you were on fire. And now you're hitting that, I'm not going to say a plateau because you have not plateaued at all, but just that mental awareness that, okay, these are the things that I need to focus in my business in order to continue, moving forward. And I think that is a great place to be in your business. For everybody is like, if you can shine a light on those areas that you need improvement and be willing to grow in those areas, like that is where you're going to see that growth to get you to that next level. And we're going to continue on that cycle and have that evolution within your business is being willing and open to improving in those areas and having that growth mindset. And as Laurel says, like constantly, do not be afraid to knock down anybody's door to ask them a question. We are all here to answer questions for you. I don't care if we're side sisters, you're upline, downline, whatever. Like we are here to answer questions for you. You have to be willing to ask the question though, because we can't move your business for you. We cannot do the growth for you, but we will be here to help you grow if and when you're ready, if and when you're able to. And if you're stuck, if you're like, hey, I feel like I'm doing all the things. I feel like I'm doing what I need to move my business forward, but I'm not seeing that growth. Be willing to ask and be willing to be open to the answer. Be willing to receive that answer of like, okay, what do you see that I could work on in my business? And be willing to hear that and then go actually like implement it and work on it kind of thing. Because that's going to be where you truly see that growth both within yourself, because you have to, in order to do that, you have to humble yourself. You have to humble yourself and know that there are ways that you need to improve yourself to move your business forward. But that is all I have. Kyra, do you have any last words for everybody? Any advice for somebody going for that next goal?
Just keep going because you can hit it.
Yeah.
Like it's real. It's an actual thing. They will actually send you like money and stuff. And your products will be free. Do it.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions before we hop off? I don't think there is much, but like I said, don't be willing to knock somebody's door down to get the answers that you're looking for. All right. Bye, ladies. Thank you so much for hopping on. How do I end this thing?